Hello, my name is Gil, developer of Streets of Rage 2 New Era, and this is the SEGA launch.
Welcome to the Sega Lounge, where we celebrate our love for all things Sega, including the games, the music, and the community. I'm your host, KC. Join me as I talk to different guests and learn more about their projects and passion for Sega. Welcome to the lounge, everyone. I'm delighted to have you, and I hope you enjoy your stay. Our reopening, meaning our first two episodes, were really well received, which makes me extremely happy because it means you guys were craving for more lounge content. But it's time we put our retrospectives behind us, where they belong, and start inviting some guests on the show. So let's get to it. This week I'm joined by G, aka gsaurus, aka Gil Costa, developer of Streets of Rage 2 New Era. Listen on to get to know this software developer who dreams of getting his HD port of Streets of Rage 2 picked up by Sega, and to find some interesting tidbits of information about the whole process of developing, not only New Era, but his several Streets of Rage related tools, hacks, and mods. Hi G, welcome to the Sega Lounge. How's it going?
Thanks for the invite. It's all going good. Waiting for the winter to go away.
It's really cold. Yeah, I know what you mean.
It's cold and dark.
It's cold and dark. That's true. It's not our usual sunny weather, Portuguese sunny weather that we're used to. Yeah, and so it's very nice to have a fellow Portuguese on the show. This is a special occasion. Let's leave it at that. So it's very nice to talk to you today, and you're here to discuss your project, Streets of Rage 2 New Era. We'll talk a little bit more about that, but I'd like to start with your background as a gamer. So, when did you start playing video games? How would you describe your first experiences with video games? Let's travel back in time.
Yeah. I can kind of describe the paths that led me to Streets of Rage, because why Streets of Rage, right? Because it's like why this random game. And it is strange. Sometimes I even I think myself, why did I end up here? And I never had a Mega Drive or Genesis. Actually, I never had one. So even more strange, right?
Mm-hmm.
I had a NES, and my cousins had a Mega Drive, and I would go to their place and watch them play. And there was this game, right, the Streets of Rage, that impressed me a lot. The music was amazing, and but I couldn't play. I was a bit young, and they were playing, and I couldn't. But I wanted to play it, but never had the opportunity to. And years later, when the emulators came out, when I was like maybe 15, 17, I don't know. Well, I discovered emulators and avenged myself, right? That's
Excellent.
how, yeah, that's how I started playing Streets of Rage, the three games.
Mm-hmm. But you were a gamer before that, right? So you said you had an NES or SNES?
Nintendo Entertainment System,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so yeah, the game I played the most at the time was Super Mario Bros. 3. Was the game that came with the NES that my parents bought. And actually, that game is interesting because that cartridge I think it's a rare one because it has a debug feature. And yeah, this debug feature, you can open your inventory and press select, and you can loop through any item that you want to use. So you can use anything. And yeah, the first few times that I played the game, I will just use the power on every level and just fly through it. But then that debug tool, the debug feature actually allowed me to explore the game a lot, like in very different ways. Like it was, I didn't have like maybe I had like 3 or 4 games that were interesting that I would play. That one was the best one for me, and I would play it every day, and every day I would create a new challenge. Like today, I will beat the game only with the mushroom. Next day, we'll play it only with the frog suite. All levels with frog suite. It was a lot of fun.
That's nice. That's nice. So you would create your own challenges, right? That's
Yeah,
nice.
yeah. That's something
Excellent.
that I always loved in games, and you will see the connection later.
Hmm.
Is the ability to create your own content or your own story or
Hmm.
being creative. Um, the games that I enjoyed the most were the ones with level editors, where you could build things, and I would always explore them to the very limits, like trying to do things that the engine wasn't built for, but you can figure out ways to do it. There's, for example, there was this. This is later on, right, with the PC games.
Hmm.
There was this Just Jackrabbit 2 game, for example, that had a level editor. And there was some unused things in that that you could access with that editor. Things that were not finished, and they
Hmm.
just left it there, and I explored it, right, and made things work very strangely. Yeah, you can create some crazy things. Like there was these trend mills, and I would put boxes moving on them, and create levels around that uh, with
Hmm.
explosions that will break the boxes. A lot of things that weren't meant to be. Uh,
Weren't supposed to happen,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Excellent. So that's where that like the developing bug came from, right? Because you are actually a software developer right now. Is your full time job, right?
yeah. I'm a software developer at Miniflip. Worked
Yeah.
there for 10 years,
Hmm.
but I did games on my own much earlier. I started maybe when I was 14 or 15
Hmm.
with something that was called the Games Factory.
Hmm.
It was a program that you would uh, be able to create games without any coding, but there was like you will define like conditions and what happens when those conditions uh, are verified,
Hmm.
and you could create some interesting stuff with that. But before that, yeah, since when I was very young, because the access to games were a lot more limited, so I would see, for example, the games that I would see on my cousin. I would see it there, and then I would come home and start drawing levels or creating my own game in paper. So I think that's there that it started. And
Hmm.
then when I learned the program to code, it was in the college, mm,
Hmm.
on the 10th year of school. So I had the first course with programming. It was on Pascal. At the time, I would pick the train home and to commute to school. And
Hmm.
when I was waiting for the train or in the train, I would be writing codes on paper. I didn't have a PC of my own at the time, so it was like a PC shared with my brother. So I will have to wait for my time
Your turn.
slice.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I will write everything on paper, creating all the things that I wanted to do on paper, and then when I have my slots, I will just put everything on the computer and compile and hope that it works.
Yeah.
It was an amazing experience to learn these skills, right? Coding
Hmm.
skills without any help of the software.
Yeah. Yeah. And no immediate response as well, right? You had to like write it down on a notepad, write everything, wait for your turn on the PC,
Yeah,
hope for the best. And if something went wrong, maybe you didn't have enough time to fix it then, so you had to go back to writing and then again the next day probably. So that's different times, right? Now people have like devices that they put on in their pockets and take everywhere. They can do amazing stuff. So different times.
yeah. You have to think a lot ahead, right?
Exactly.
It's not just what's happening now. You have to plan everything. You have to, yeah, you have
Hmm.
to have all everything in your head, basically, in
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
head or in the paper.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Anticipate the result, and because there wasn't an immediate way of doing things on the computer because you didn't have access. So yeah,
Yeah,
not even a laptop that you could take with you, right? So some people
right.
sometimes we see people like in trains and
And
coffee
yeah, and
shops and
no
stuff,
internet.
and exactly no access to the internet. Yeah, different times. Yeah. Excellent, excellent. So that's how your love for gaming and your love for programming like intertwined here, cross paths, right?
Mm.
And also became a job profession for you. Um, you mentioned you didn't you didn't have a Mega Drive. You didn't actually play Streets of Rage until later on when you got access to emulators. So what about Streets of Rage? I don't know if a specific Streets of Rage game or all three. I don't know which ones got stuck in your head the most, but what about those games were so special or was so special for you that you know years later you had to go back to them, play them, dissect them. What is it about Streets of Rage that's so special for you?
Yeah, it's a good question because when once I got uh, access to an emulator, I didn't try only those games, of course, right? And I played other games, and somehow only these three games stood more than the others. And yeah, why? It's difficult. It's difficult to say why I liked those the most. There's something special, especially on the second game. The first is very good as well. The third is tricky. It's challenging. Um, but the first two um, have something special to it that is difficult to explain.
Hmm.
The mechanics, even though the game, the both of them are a bit. Like the controls are not very responsive when you play it. It's old games, right? But even with that there's something special with that creates a feeling, a pace that fits very well with the music, fits very well with everything. It's a slower pace, but it's a pace that gets in you or so, in some way.
Like everything
That's what I
connects,
feel.
right? You go from
mm,
one enemy to the other and to the next part of the stage, and it's all connected. It's like a very nice chain of events.
yeah, and the
Yeah.
feedback that you get from playing, right? When you hit someone, there's this really impact feel.
Hmm.
The hit sound, the hit, the pause when you hit, all that works really well.
Hmm. Definitely. So, were you a fan? So, you mentioned Super Mario Brothers 3. Were you a fan of beat 'em ups like Streets of Rage on other systems? And then when you started playing PC games as well, or not really? You played what you liked, whatever game uh, strike your fancy, or were beat 'em ups really the thing that you liked growing up?
Beat 'em up started with Streets of Rage only.
Mhm.
Before that, it was more like actually before. Before the having emulators, I played other PC games, and I was more into strategy games like
Okay.
RTSs,
Hmm.
um, especially those with editors. So Age of Empires 2 had a level editor, a map editor.
Hmm.
Empire Earth also had a map editor. And I used those a lot. But even without the editor, I just enjoyed playing them.
Hmm.
It's still a kind of game that I like to play.
Having the editor was something that made the game even more fun because you had that the challenge of
Mhm.
creating your own things and levels and maps and stuff. That the creative bug was there
Mhm.
already, right?
Yeah, yeah. And I think the Streets of Rage thing started more when I had the opportunity to do something for the community.
Hmm.
Because and before that, actually the first game I wanted to. Well, the first game I did a lot of smaller games before university, which were more like clones of simpler games like Pac-Man, Tetris, um, the Arkanoid games. I did a lot of those and shoot 'em ups like uh, like space shooters.
Hmm.
I will do a lot of those in that the Games Factory program. I was more into platformers actually, like that. Rabbit 2 was a game that marked me, and I wanted to create sometime when I went to the university. I wanted to create a platformer that would mix mechanics from different games, from Sonic, from Mario, from Rabbit. That was my idea, and I haven't created an engine for that. It worked more like something to learn about because I never did anything with that engine. It was made in Java, um, but I, that was the first engine I actually made game. The first game engine
Hmm.
was a good experience to learn, and it was meant to be a platform, an engine for platform games, but platformers. Yeah, that was the idea. But then what happened? I um, went into the found out about the Streets of Rage community. At the time, it was the SOAR Online. So there was these forums and
Hmm.
people talking about the game, and I found it really uh, nice to be there.
Yeah,
And
with
there
Mr.
were
Din, right?
exactly,
Exactly. Former guest of the Sega Lounge as well.
yeah, he told me. That was yeah. So I met Mr. Lin there, and he wanted to create a Streets of Rage game, and I thought about that. Like, well, I like Streets of Rage, and I'm a programmer, so that's great. Why not? I was thinking more on a platformer, but Streets of Rage will do.
Okay.
Yeah, and from there on, it was Streets of Rage all the way.
Okay. Okay. So you before actually you started working on New Era, Streets of Rage 2 New Era, you did other things like mods and stuff for Streets of Rage games, right?
Yeah, I did a lot of stuff.
Hmm.
And how that started. So I played the game like every day, the three games, one or the other would switch. Uh, but because I have this, I don't know, this way of going deep into things and figuring out. I love to break games. Let's be direct about that. I love to break games. I love to find bugs. I find it super funny when you are able to make it do something that is not expected. Yeah, and we talked about that,
Hmm.
and since I played a lot of those games, I start and the emulators also make this super easy because you have save load state and you can even play it frame by frame and
Hmm.
be very specific. You can go after the bugs. And the programmer mentality also helps a lot because uh, you know where to look, like
Hmm.
what can the developers have missed or things like that. Like what are the edge cases that I can explore and see if it breaks it. And often I will think like that, like what happens if I throw actually that one was accidental. But yeah, what happens if I do this, and
Hmm.
I will try it and see what happens, and often I will find bugs.
Okay.
And it was a lot of fun finding bugs, breaking the game. That's how I started on YouTube. Then I started having interest for those codes that breaks the game, right? You
Hmm.
chain bar GG codes that you can put there and it do things to the game. Started exploring that. Um, but still before going deeper into hacking, so that time I will just do that, like try random codes and see what happens, because I didn't really have any knowledge about hacking or reverse engineering
Hmm.
for those games specifically. um, Going a little bit uh, back or sideways, maybe sideways. With Dean, I started doing the evolution engine. That was the first bitmap engine that I created. It
Hmm.
was in C++, and uh, and it had a lot of editors as well for to create the characters and the backgrounds, the levels. But in the end, it was a bit. It's the endless problem of developers. You reach a moment that you look at it. Well, this could be better here and there. This is starting to be too complex and difficult to handle.
Okay.
I'm doing something that is more than what is needed because yeah, this thing like you want your code to be, you want the program to be ready for everything. Like, what if Mr. Dean decides to add this? Well, I think this is cool. You will need this, and you add support to that. but it wasn't needed, right? You spend a lot of time doing these
And
things,
if you don't
and
stop,
you
you'll
never
just
end.
keep going, and it'll never be finished, right?
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that project was then at some point I decided, well, I'm going to start this over. That's another common thing from developers. And why? Because I wanted to add support for NetPlay, and I know
Mhm.
that you have to have that in mind from the beginning. You can simply uh, build your game and then, well,
No.
now I want to add multiplayer. That doesn't work. That doesn't
Mhm.
really that doesn't work. And I think that's why Streets of Rage remake doesn't have netplay, even though they tried, but they tried after making the game.
Okay.
And so yeah, I decided to start it over, but it didn't. I didn't continue with that for a long. And then, but because I had something to show, people saw the things that I did. I met this guy, uh, Red Crimson.
Mhm.
It's from UK, and you guys had already had a lot of knowledge about assembly, Motorola 68K, and he already had these assemblies for the Streets of Rage games, especially for the second and the third. And he came to me and said, "Well, I saw what you did there, like the editors to edit the characters and so." And he asked me if I could do something like that to Streets of Rage, to the ROM, like to visualize what's in the ROM. But that was a very nice contact because yeah, that's great, right? I'm a developer. He has the knowledge of the game, the the internals of it. Let's do it. And that's where I created those tools, the pancake tools, because I didn't have a better name. Just what I'm going to name this. Well, I don't know. Let's let it be pancake.
I like pancakes. It's nice. I think it's a nice name.
Yeah, so there's this pancake tool, which is for Streets of Rage 2, where you can
Mhm.
edit all the, at least the playable characters. Later on, we added all the other characters with a hack that mostly developed by Red Crimson. Did the same for um, Streets of Rage 3. I did a generic voice editor that works for other ROMs, not just for Streets of Rage. I think, yeah. Also, later on, I also developed spawns editor, so you can see the spawns on each level. You can edit it and create your own levels, spawns of the levels, not the art.
Mhm.
It was a great fun. And also with that, of course, I learned a lot with him, with Red Crimson. He shared with me his assemblies, and I had some knowledge about assembly, but not Motorola 68K specifically. But it's not too different from from other assemblies, so I it wasn't too difficult to learn it. Even though it's not my specialty, so I still today I still look to cheat sheets to see what the comments do.
So you've mentioned a few tools that you created. Are they currently available for other people to use?
Yeah, they are. They are.
Okay.
And a lot of people did hacks with it. I did some hacks with it, but much more were done by the community. And there are still people using it. That's fantastic. So basically, boosted the modding community for the games.
Okay. That's nice.
So after these hacking experiments, I did other game. Let's say beat 'em up. I wanted to start a new beat 'em up game engine. This idea never went away from my head, and eventually I had my break, and now I'm ready to do it again and learned with new things. Yeah. It was when I did my move to Unity and decided to do a pet project, an experiment, just to see how a beat 'em up could be made in Unity. The first experiment was exactly that. It was like using exactly what Unity offers you to make a beat 'em up. And I did it quite quickly, and it was quite good. You would change everything on the editor. You would you didn't need codes to build your character, the move set of your character. Later, there's this Back to the Streets. This is the last one before New Era. Then I started this Back to the Streets beat 'em up engine in Unity with rollback. So the game, the deterministic engine, very techy. It was a very techy engine because again, and that was the problem of it again. It was too complex. It was too generic. It allowed you to make everything, not just beat 'em ups. And the proof of that is that I used that engine to make other games
Mhm.
as proof of concepts that
Okay.
it worked. I kept doing hacks, the
Mhm.
Streets of Rage hacks, every now and then. It was fun, but that was a lot of work, and it is really difficult to make hacks, to make
Mhm.
mods. It's super tricky, and it's easy to break things, and you are limited by the original hardware. That wasn't being as fun anymore. Like you, I want to go further. I want to do more, and I was already hitting the limits. And then I started thinking, I have a lot of knowledge on the original assemblies. What if I make like ports this to a technology that I'm more comfortable working with? Then I could do everything I want, right?
Yeah. You're not limited by the original hardware anymore.
Yeah, yeah. But I was a bit afraid because there was a lot of unknowns. There was a lot of things that I didn't really know how to how it worked. For example, the backgrounds. That's another thing that I never did, and was thinking on investing more on that. The like changing the art of the backgrounds of the Streets of Rage 2. I never did an editor for that because I didn't know yet how that works. So
Okay.
that was an unknown. And when I decided to start New Era, that was September or August, actually, August 2020. And I started development on September. Um, my idea was like, uh, let's let's just start and see where I can get because I didn't know if I could port it completely or if I could just port some of it and then
Mhm.
maybe build around that with my own stuff. Yeah, just try and see what happens. Mm. And it went
Okay.
well, right?
It went well. Yeah.
And I learned a lot with this process. Like in maybe 3 months, I already had almost 3 or 4 months, maybe already had the no, actually maybe six. I already had the first level, almost everything there, and from there until having everything, it was just painful work of because you already have everything structured there. Now you just have to port the that's what took longer. Porting the AI of the enemies took a lot of time because they are like
Okay.
21 or 22 enemies, and their code is a mess. It's a lot of duplicate. The game, the ROM has a lot of duplicate code for them. So clearly, they did the way they worked was like they developed one and then copy paste and edit
Okay.
on top of that for all the other enemies. That's why it was so tedious, because it was always almost the same thing, but it there was always
But
some
a
difference
slight
there that you don't,
variation.
yeah, that you don't know where it is. And so I just did a blind spot of everything instead of trying to understand everything completely.
Mhm.
That would be more work. So I just did a blind translation. Otherwise,
Mhm.
I was afraid I would miss some detail. Yeah, so it took a lot of time. It was very, like, sometimes I would be, like, imagine after work at night porting this. It's always the same thing. I was very sleepy doing this process, and the porting the all the porting process was manual. So I would read the assembly code and translate it to C sharp. Yeah, and code exactly the same in C sharp. And the resulting C sharp code is very ugly because of that, because it's a literal translation. So it doesn't use modern constructions. You just do jumps, and
Mhm.
that's it. And it is interesting that some parts of the code that I translated, I still today I don't really understand them, because I didn't spend time understanding
Mhm.
everything. Sometimes I will just do this blind translation. I don't know what I'm translating, but I believe that this will work.
This will, yeah.
And it did.
Yeah.
But with all this process, I learned a lot about the game, and
Mhm.
how the game is built. I had like this impression of what was the developers' ideas, how they evolved as they
Mhm.
were doing the game, because you clearly see differences in, for example, some enemies are better coded than others, and you can see this evolution, right? That when they
Mhm.
started, they also didn't know a lot of things. They learned with the process, and you get all this information from the runs. Very nice.
Excellent. So, for people who are not really familiar with the project, you already mentioned its support to modern platforms, but it's not just a simple port as well, right? So, there are some enhancements, some improvements. Would you like to talk a little bit about what features you included here? Because in time, you also improved upon your original project, right?
Yeah. So the main goal was just to port the game, is having exact same experience that you have on the original hardware,
Hmm.
but on the modern technologies. That was the core goal. But of course, once you port it to modern technologies, you have access to do changes.
Hmm.
And all the changes, or in the beginning, this was something that went more with the process. Like, well, what if I just change this and see it will be a little bit better? Why not? Yeah, why not adding this? And that's how it started. Then came this idea. Well, let's make two game modes, right? The classic and
Hmm.
the 30th anniversary, with these changes. So in the beginning, we talked about how these games were kind of slow. The input response is a bit slow,
Hmm.
and that was one thing. that was improved. If you notice on Streets of Rage 2, when you punch in the air, or even if you hit enemies, doesn't matter. You punch, and after punching, you want to walk. You have to wait a bit. Like after the punch, the character just stays there for a little bit, and you are already pressing one
Yeah.
direction, and he
Hmm.
stays there, and then he starts moving. So that delay didn't really make much sense to me, and so I just made it much more responsive. You
Hmm.
punch and then you move. Why not? But there's a lot of small details, small fixes, small changes that people won't even realize. Very, very, very small things. And bugs from the original that you won't imagine. With this process, well, I already found a lot of bugs before, right? And I
Hmm.
thought, I think all the bugs of the game are known. No, they aren't. Still found new bugs with this process. And sometimes it was very annoying because I was testing the game or someone was testing the game and would find a bug. And man, I did something wrong here, right? But then, no, if I went to the original game, there was the bug also. So this also happens on the original, and that started being the process. Whenever someone finds a bug, first thing, check if it happens on the origin. If
Hmm.
it happens, it's not so bad.
Yeah.
But for the
It's not my
30th
fault.
anniversary,
Okay.
yeah. But for the actually, it's a good thing. Like, oh, it's good that it also has this bug, so the port is
Exactly. Yeah.
well done.
This is a perfect port. Yeah.
Yeah. Something for the 30th anniversary mode, there is this, and this is kind of a spoiler for some people that don't know about it, and it's one of the achievements. Um, on level 7, um, if you have a jack dropping 6 knives, then the robot's boss, they can't hit you, and this is because on the original hardware, um, the knives are taking all the memory
Okay.
space, and the bots can't use it.
Interesting.
Yeah, and I for the 30th anniversary to begin with, I didn't have this bug,
Hmm.
but then people, oh, but we want this bug. It's a good bug. Okay, so yeah, from there we decided that let's keep all the good bugs, just remove the bad ones, and make the good bugs features. So I had
Exactly.
to
Okay.
code,
Yeah.
yeah, I had to code specifically this bug for this mode because on this mode it didn't happen by nature because there's
Hmm.
more memory available.
Hmm. Yeah.
So I had to specifically put code there that if there are 6 items, then the bosses are doesn't hit you.
And so to clarify, so did you fix all the bugs that you and other people found in classic mode as well, or did you keep the bugs in classic mode and just
In
fix them
classic,
for 30th anniversary?
in classic, in classic, all the bugs are there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
and
That
on
makes
30th
sense.
anniversary, we fixed most of the bugs.
Okay. Okay. Makes sense. Makes sense.
And made, yeah, when I said that I made the good bugs to become features,
Features. Yeah.
I wasn't kidding about this. There's another very famous bug, which is the handshake of doom, in which if you this happens in multiplayer when you have two players, one on each side. It doesn't matter if they are on the same side or not. If you have two players hitting two enemies at the same time on the same frame, uh, they die. Basically,
Okay.
it's like enters in a loop of
Okay.
hits, and they die. This is a good bug for players, right? And we made this
Yeah.
a feature. And later on, I had this idea to add a game mode that explores this feature a lot. So it's a game mode based on this feature, on this bug that is now a feature,
Okay.
which is the and you unlock these modes by achieving. There's an achievement that
Hmm.
you beat and you unlock this game mode. And this game mode is the Ninpo Kaje Bunshin. It's named after the what the ninjas say when you jump and they go away with shadows.
Okay.
Yeah, this game mode, you besides your player, you also have three shadows, and those shadows also hit the enemies with a slight delay. And yeah, because it's like having four, you are controlling four players. If you hit multiple enemies, there you get the bug.
Okay.
So this game mode has a lot of that.
It's a feature now.
Mhm.
That's nice.
Yeah, but some of these things like these Nimpokaja Kunshin game modes, and there's also harder difficulties than Mania. There's a Mania Plus
Hmm.
and Mania Mega Mania. These were done more like experiments or proofs of concept that other things can be done
Hmm.
with the engine. And I just didn't do more yet because time.
Of
Otherwise,
course.
I have a lot of ideas that could put in
Okay.
practice.
But right now, some of, or actually many things have been implemented. Also, something big, widescreen support. That's important. It's like not probably not the most. I don't know. I wouldn't know, but probably not the most technically uh, complicated, complex thing you done. But one of the things that many people will notice about this sport, obviously, is widescreen support. I don't know how complicated it was. I'm
Mm.
assuming not much, but I don't know. I'm not a
So
developer.
yeah, I thought it was going to be easier.
Okay.
There are some details to it that because it's not just making it wider. There's a lot of things that I didn't talk about initially, and then when the testers tried it, they would find things that didn't weren't expected. So when you have a wider screen, the first challenge was the backgrounds. The backgrounds are not made were not made in thinking on this. You have to show more background than
You
before.
don't stretch the background. You have probably to create more content to fill in the background, right?
Either create or
Or just
just
the
show more,
ratio, just show more.
just show more. And yeah, sometimes it wasn't clear how much more I need to display because the backgrounds
Hmm.
in Streets of Rage 2 are made in patches. Like
Hmm.
it's
Yeah.
like square patches, and I just have to draw more, at least
Okay.
one
You have to.
more to the left or to the right.
Hmm. Hmm.
But then there's a lot of some places that needs a specific treatment that is not very nice for me because I have to have these specific things in the code or specified somewhere. For example, sometimes you want to center the screen. Let's say, for example, on Verhelitz on stage 3, there's this Verhelitz thing that is the monster inside the
Okay.
amusement
Hmm.
park. And in the um, original screen, it is centered on screen. if you just increase the size, you increase the size to the left and not to the right, because there's the limits where you can walk. So increase to the
Hmm.
left, but then the monster is not centered. So I
Okay.
had to change the limits where you can walk to go to be more ahead. Yeah, those kind of things. More
There are
challenges are of
some challenges, some minor challenges that maybe people didn't consider at first, and you didn't consider at first,
yeah,
no? No.
spawns, enemy spawns. Since you moved it to, this is more in
Hmm.
the the elevators are the obvious places that are a bit more tricky. Actually, actually, it's not exactly that. On the fourth and the fourth level and the eighth level, um, the elevators have that space, and you just made the screen wider. You see
Hmm.
more background, but the playable area is the same.
It's the
But
same.
on stage 7, it's not the case. On stage 7, you don't have a wall to the left. Actually, there is one off screen, but
It's hidden.
it's hidden. As you make it bigger, it's hidden, and it's just a
It's off screen.
logical
Yeah.
wall. Yes, it's a logical wall. There is
Oh
no
yeah.
art for that.
Yeah.
So when you make it bigger, you make a bigger playable area, and you move that invisible wall to the left as
Okay.
well. And now the enemy spawns also have to spread along this new area. They shouldn't just spawn, everyone spawn in the right, to the right.
Hmm. So tricky at times.
Yeah, yeah.
Awesome.
And
But
the
great stuff.
scrolling, yeah, the
Hmm.
scrolling also didn't work the same way.
Okay.
For example, on stage 6, you went with the background centers, uh, the back layer centers with the front layer on a specific point.
Hmm.
And when I increased the size, it wouldn't center. So I had to make some adjustments there.
Okay. Excellent. So, G, let's take a quick break from talking about the project to talk about something else. Every time someone comes on the Sega Lounge, not sure if you knew about this, hopefully not, we do something called the Sega Lounge Challenge.
Now that you know our guests, it's time to put them to the test. It's the moment we've waited for and the moment they dread.
Welcome to your doom.
I mean, welcome to the Sega Lounge Challenge.
So I thought to myself, you are probably, not probably, definitely after our chat, you are definitely a huge fan of Streets of Rage. You are very knowledgeable about everything, like the code, every little detail about Streets of Rage. And since you are working on Streets of Rage 2 New Era, you're maybe really the connoisseur of Streets of Rage 2. And so we're not going to just focus on Streets of Rage or Streets of Rage 2. I'm going to throw in some questions about other Sega properties as well. I know maybe that's not your strong suit exactly, but let's see how it goes. I usually call this the Ultimate Sega Fan Challenge, but let's just call it the Ultimate G Challenge. Let's see if you are truly worthy of the Sega Lounge seal of approval. Okay, so I have a few questions. I have 10 questions. Okay, let's see how many you can get right. Are you ready for this? Probably not.
Let's
Don't
go.
think about it too much. Probably not. No one is.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
okay, question number one. I think these some of these are very easy for you, not for the common Sega fan, the common Streets of Rage fan, but for hardcore fans like yourself, I think these are easy. So, G, can you name three three enemies in Streets of Rage 2? Any enemy.
including bosses.
Not including bosses, no.
So
Like
just normal enemies.
normal, regular enemies. 3.
Garcia, Donovan, and Electro are the first 3 enemies of the game. I can name them all if you want.
I said 3, like I should have said like 10 or even then it would have been easy, right? I think. Yeah, that's correct. That is correct. Well done. Okay. Okay. So let's go more specific. Let's go specific here. Stage 4 of Streets of Rage 2, the stadium, right? That's like the main name. What's the name of the boss of stage 4?
It's a bit.
Stage 4.
Yeah, Abatit.
Are you
Or
sure?
Abatit. Yeah, some people say Abatiti. It is Abatit.
I know what you're referring to. Are you sure?
Yeah.
Yeah. Really?
Hmm.
And you are correct. Of course. Of course. Excellent. Excellent. That's the name of the boss. Okay. Okay. Let's see. So you told me you didn't really grow up with Sega, but let's see if you can identify well-known Sega properties. Okay. If I give you some hints. Okay.
Hmm.
So let's go with the specific game. 26 years after the previous game in the series was released, this highly acclaimed sequel came out for all modern systems, featuring both classic characters and original ones. It was nominated for Best Action in the 2020 Game Awards.
Talking about Streets of Rage 4.
I'm asking you, don't ask me. You need to give me an answer. Is that
Streets
your
of Rage 4.
answer?
Yes.
Streets of Rage 4. Okay, yes, that's it. Very good job. That's the correct answer. Let's go with another one. Okay. So, question number 4. In 1993, Sega released this game for the arcades. It's often cited as being the first fully 3D fighting game released to the general public and the basis for almost all subsequent games in the genre. I have options if you need them, although I don't think you do, judging by the look on your
I have
face.
something in mind, but that wasn't for the arcades. Well, it probably started on the arcade. Did that game only exist on the arcade?
I didn't say that.
No.
I
I
said
can
in
only think of
1993 was released for the arcades, but could have been ported later.
I can only think of Tekken, but I don't. I think 1993 is too early for that.
Okay,
But the
so
first 3D fighter.
I'll give you the options. Okay, and keep in mind we're talking about Sega. So 3 options. Option A, Virtua Fighter. Option B, Fighting Vipers. Option C, Eternal Champions. These are all Sega fighting games. One of these was released in 1993 on the arcades.
It's the virtual fighter.
So option A, Virtua
Yes,
Fighter.
option A. Yes.
Yeah. For sure, or out of the 3, the one that
For
makes
sure.
more sense? For sure. And it's correct. Well done. It is the correct
It's
answer.
it's the only one I know.
Okay.
I don't know the other 2.
So the other 2 were not. Fighting Vipers was a 3D fighting game. Eternal Champions 2D, the original one. Virtua Fighter, so Virtua Fighter, was it's cited as the first fully 3D fighting game released to the general public. So yeah. Okay, well done. 4 for 4. We're doing great. 6 left. 6 questions left. Okay. Let's go. Are you at all familiar with the Dreamcast period of games?
No.
Mm, not at all. Okay. So I'm gonna. There are options, so don't worry. I'm going to read the question. Question number 5. This Dreamcast game is considered to be one of the pioneers of its generation for its use of cel shaded graphics. Gameplay includes both skating and spraying. Okay. Option A, Sonic Shuffle. Option B, Shenmue. Option C, Jet Set Radio.
It's option C, Jet Set Radio.
Why?
Why? Because I came to know about this game recently on the SEGA Heroes game, mobile game, and there
Okay.
was this Jet Set Radio. That's where
Okay.
I heard the game about the game the first time.
Shenmue characters were also in Sega Heroes. So are you sure this is not Shenmue?
Yeah,
Cell
because
shaded
you said
graphics, skating and spraying.
skating and spraying. It is Jet
So
Set
your
Radio.
answer, your final answer, Jet Set Radio.
Yes.
And it's correct. Good job. Yes, it's obviously Jet Set Radio. Okay. Going back to Streets of Rage 2. How familiar? Wait, don't do that yet. Wait. How familiar are you with the music? Not the music itself, but the names of the songs.
I don't. Sometimes I forget the names of them.
Okay.
Let's see.
Okay. So I'm going to give you options, and you tell me if this is so.
Maybe I don't
Which
need
one
options,
of these
but
are?
let's.
No. Okay. Okay. So if you don't need options, let's do it a different way. So let's start easy. Stage number 1, right? What's the first track, the first song in stage 1 of Streets of Rage 2?
Straight.
Okay, you get a point. Of course, that's easy. What if we go a little bit later in the game? Can you name one of the 2 songs in stage 5? The ship.
Yes, yes. Slow Moon. One of the 2 songs.
One of the 2 songs. So
Well,
there are 2 songs
there's
in that
just
level.
ones. There's only that one and the boss one.
So that
Let's
could
go
be
for
one.
the right. Slow Moon.
You're correct. So Slow Moon, you say, is the one that's not the boss song, the boss theme for stage 5.
Yeah.
That is correct. Good job. Okay. One more song. One more. Uno más. Stage 7. Can you name the second song that plays in stage 7?
I know the name, and it's not on my head right now.
Should I give you options? I don't think I should, to be honest, but
You shouldn't. I know the name.
I shouldn't.
You shouldn't. Come on. I hear it every day.
Do you know the other one? Do you know the first one? The name of the first one?
No, I don't remember
curiosity.
the name of the.
Okay.
No, the first one I don't know. I only know the second.
Okay. So if I give you the name of the first one, it won't help.
What is the name of the first one?
If it doesn't help, I'll give you the name.
Yeah, I don't
if
know
it helps, I won't. No, I'm kidding. So the first song is Back to the Industry.
Oh, right. Yeah, I know that.
But we want the second one.
Everyone will kill me. I know it, and
For
it's not
not
in my
knowing the
head.
name of the song, I don't think that's really a problem, to be honest. With all the work you've done.
It's one of the most famous ones.
Probably, yeah. Probably has an interesting title. I will say that. And it's
I know that it's one word,
unique. It is.
but the word isn't
It's
not.
not Dreamer, for example, which is very famous
I,
one as well. It's not Dreamer, and it's one word as well. Which means I think there's only one other song with just one word in the title.
you need a hint.
So I'm gonna need an answer. I can't give you
I
any
just need
other
a
hints here.
no.
A hint. A hint.
What the word has.
Um
What does it start with?
it could
The
be
the first letter.
about it's about like growing, increasing in size. I don't know.
Yeah,
Someone, yeah, maybe.
yeah, I know. But it's a.
It starts with an E. I'm growing soft. I'm giving hints. Listeners will be like, Casey's gone soft. Starts with an E.
I can't get. Yeah, hold on.
No idea? Should I give you the answer?
Yeah, yeah, and then I will cry in a corner.
Expander. Expander is the.
X. You said
I
it
said
started
it's
with I.
EX. Expander. That's the name of the
All
song.
right.
Expander, like
E. You mean
growing.
E?
EX. Yes. In Portuguese.
Expander,
Yeah.
exactly.
So Expander is the name of the song. But no worries. Amazing so far. So I don't think anyone will blame you for this. Two
Except me.
except yourself. Okay. So you need to study up on Streets of Rage songs. Okay, so final two questions. Number 9. Let's go back to Sega properties. Okay. Let's go a little bit more modern. Okay. The latest installment in a popular Sega series, this game features a brand new style of gameplay, switching from real time to turn based fighting, and a new protagonist called Ichiban Kasuga. It was nominated for Best RPG in the 2020 Game Awards. If you need options, I can give them to you.
Yeah,
So
even with options,
even with
even
options. So
with
it's
options,
like
I don't.
it's
I
a
have no idea.
long running Sega series, modern Sega series. But this particular game switched from real time to turn based fighting, so a turn based RPG. The options are Yakuza Like a Dragon, option A, 13 Sentinels, Aegis Rim, option B. I'm doing 2, but it's B, okay. Option C, Persona 5 Royal. So Yakuza Like a Dragon, 13 Sentinels, Aegis Rim, or Persona 5 Royal are the 3 options.
Are they all RPGs?
They are all RPGs.
That makes
all of
sense.
these games are RPGs. But one of them is part of a series that didn't feature RPGs. So before the series was like an open world action game. And this particular game.
Yeah.
So think about the titles. The titles Yakuza Like a Dragon, 13 Sentinels, Aegis Rim, Persona 5 Royal. Which of these you
I
think
go to option A.
Option A. So Yakuza Like a Dragon. Why?
Because Yakuza is the only name that tells me something.
The Yakuza themselves or the game?
The game.
The game. Okay. So your
That sounds
option.
familiar.
Okay, yeah, it should be. It's a fairly well known series, very successful.
But let me say that RPGs and open space stuff, it's really not my kind of games. So it's normal that I don't really know.
You wouldn't know. Okay, fair enough. Your answer was Yakuza Like a Dragon, so not Persona 5 Royal. Well done. It's not the correct answer. Persona 5 Royal. Persona is a series of turn-based RPGs. It's always has been. Third and Sentinels, Aegis Rim, or Yakuza Like a Dragon. Your answer is correct. Yes. Yakuza, the Yakuza series, which will now be known as the Like a Dragon series, closer to the original Japanese name, actually. It's a series of action, like open world fighting action games, like closer to a Streets of Rage series, perhaps. But then, Like a Dragon, Yakuza Like a Dragon was an RPG, a turn-based RPG. So, a new kind of genre for the series. So, good job. Good job. Ready for the final question?
Let's go. It's a bit intimidating.
Okay.
This.
It's ooh, nice. That's what I'm going for. Okay. So, have you played Streets of Rage 4?
Yeah.
By the way, yeah. Okay. So this is a question that I like to answer to ask to some of my guests. In stage 10 of Streets of Rage 4, stage called To the Concert, you fight on rooftops, and at one point you can see the clothes of a famous video game character hanging out to dry. Okay, so there's a line, some clothes hanging out to dry. Which character is it? The clothes are iconic. You know the character just by looking at the clothes.
You mean in the background?
In the actual game, in the background, you fight on rooftops, right?
I don't remember that specific stage. I know other places there, like Shinobi and other references.
Ninja Turtles
There,
as well. In the
there,
sewer.
I don't remember.
Mhm. So you'll have to guess, right? So which character could it be? It is the final question, so had to be a little bit trickier. So should I give you the answer?
Yeah.
Okay. So how about like a famous plumber? Maybe. So Mario was the correct answer here. But yeah, I think you can see the hat.
It came to my mind, but I thought it will never be because it's the competition, right?
Yeah,
Will
but
never be a Nintendo character there.
it's just a nod.
That makes no sense. Sorry.
No, it doesn't. Just like an Easter egg. Like, yeah. There's the nods to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles there. I think Sonic as well, if I'm not mistaken. I think there's like rings somewhere, like drawn somewhere. There's the Shinobi reference as well. There are a lot of Easter eggs. I don't know them all, but this one that I find interesting because it's, as you said, it's not really a Sega character or a property. So, yeah, cheeky, but good job. 8 correct answers out of 10. I think that's an amazing performance. So, congratulations. Well done. Good job, G.
Thanks.
And you've proven that you only missed one of the like Streets of Rage 2 answers. It was a very, very hard question. So, good job. You've proven yourself. And you will get the official Sega Launch seal of approval, which I will send to you after we're done with the interview. So thank you very much for being such a good sport. Okay, so before we go, you said you are continuing to work on Streets of Rage 2 New Era. Even didn't mention that, but I know there's been a lot of great response from the community as well. Were you surprised with the response? Were you expecting that, knowing the community already, because you've been working with them closely, many people closely? So were you expecting the response that you're getting?
The response is better than I anticipated. There are a lot of good feedback. There are some there are some people on the other extreme as well, which is interesting to see, and it's fine. There are some people that simply don't care for it, and it's fine.
Okay.
Um, um, what happens is the way I see what I achieved so far. It's still a small step for something that can be bigger, like, let's say like that. Because what I did here was porting the one game, so it's still the same game and not much more. There's these experimental things that I added there, like these new game modes, few other things that are there. They are more of like experimental things, and doesn't really add that much, in my view. Doesn't really add that much to the game. They are fun, yeah, but it's still the same game, and it deserves more, right? Uh, I This was so there was this initial goal just to port it, right? But the vision was to be able to have an engine that I can work on that is much easier to work than uh, through hacking of the original game. That started with that, right? Those limitations. I wanted a more
Hmm.
familiar base to work on. And I'd love to, as I told you before, from past experience, I used it to create a lot of editors for the original game. The engines that I created were very complex that would allow you to create a lot of things. So all the work that I've been doing all these years are more like for the community. I create engines for
Hmm.
other people to create their games. I create editors for other people to um, create their mods. And this is all aligned as well with the kind of games that I like, with editors and all that. It's all together. And
Yeah.
I, as and also I have very limited time, personal time to work on this, so I can't really add much content myself. So the plan is that I from now on I want to add the support to Streets of Rage 2 New Era to create your own content. It's a
Hmm.
bit like Streets of Rage remake maker, Streets of Rage maker. They also have that. And I want to create the same here. And I have the experience too. I know how to do it. I just need some time to do it. But yeah, that's the next step.
That's the next step. Okay, that's awesome. One of the things that I found interesting when I first downloaded the game was that, like, the text file you added. There's a mention there: support by sharing, not donating. So you're not taking any donations from the community, right? Uh, and you mentioned it's not a property that belongs to you, so you can't accept donations, but people can support by sharing. So if I were to ask you, how can people help you in achieving your goals in terms of what you want to do next with Streets of Rage 2 New Era? Would sharing be the best way to help?
Yes. So first, what you said, that Yeah, the new era so far only uses content from the original ROM. You need to have the original ROM to play a new era. And even the places with widescreen where there was lack of art to fill the blanks, right? Even there, I just used art that already exists in the game, even for the menus. So that's one reason why there isn't much more to see there than the original game. It only uses what's in the ROM, and because that's for that reason. First, I'm not an artist myself, and then I respect very much the original game and the IP, and I don't want any problems with that. So I
Mm,
it's just that. Um,
mhm.
but the what will be the ultimate goal for me with this project? The ultimate goal will be to have Sega actually um, recognizing the project and picking it up and doing an official re-release of Streets of Rage 2, possibly with new levels, possibly with HD art. I don't know.
Mhm.
There's a lot of possibilities there. We can make a lot of things with this engine. Now with the engine with in modern technology, can do whatever we want. Um, so and to reach there, yeah, it needs to become um, more popular, right?
Widespread.
So
Yeah.
widespread. People need to hear about it. So
Mhm.
that's why I say sharing is the best way to make it go forward.
Excellent. Excellent. A little bit like what happened with the Sonic 1 and 2 and CD re-releases, right, in HD. So that's what you're hoping to achieve with this in the end. Sega trying to, or understanding the need and the demand for a re-release in better quality with new features of just SOR2 or the original trilogy.
The the or the SOR to start with.
Okay.
If I had the opportunity to work on this full time myself,
Hmm.
then maybe you could consider the trial the original
The
trilogy.
three games, yeah. Hmm.
Mm.
Okay. Yeah, makes sense.
That's like my dream job will be working on this full time all every day, right? All day.
Hopefully something you can achieve.
Yeah,
Excellent.
it's awesome.
Yeah. Okay, so every time someone comes on the Sega Lounge, my last question is the same. And are you familiar with the concept of blast processing? Have you ever heard about
No,
this?
I
Okay,
don't think
so
so.
in the US, Sega marketed not the Mega Drive but the Genesis as having blast processing. Okay, so what exactly is blast processing? Is it a real thing? Probably not. More like a marketing move and gimmick. But that's why the Mega Drive was so much more powerful than the competition, than the Genesis. It had blast processing. So obviously, blast processing makes things more powerful, faster, amazing. So my question is, if you could add blast processing, whatever it is, to anything in the world, what would it be and why? Anything.
What the hell is blast processing?
It's in the name, blast processing.
Right.
Whoa, amazing.
I will say climate change. Basically, working to have a better world, a
Mhm.
world that we can live on, and that's getting difficult. now, and that's a real concern for me. And I think, yeah, if we could less process it, like the less process the transition,
Hmm.
yeah, that's where I would put it.
And that's a very, very good answer. I totally agree. So, G, obviously, all the links and important information will be in the show notes and description so people can find the project. But where can people reach you? Where can people find the game? If they have like anything they'd like to suggest or any, what can they do to contribute with their ideas as well?
Uh-huh. People can find the project on its webpage, which is sournewair.com. And there are the links for the Discord channel and for my YouTube. Those are the
Mhm.
main ones, are the ones I use the most. But I'm also, people can also find me on Twitch. I don't stream, but I have an account there and I uh, go to streamers that stream Streets of Rage. Um, yeah, those are the main ones. I'm also on Twitter,
Mhm.
but just have an account there. I don't really post much there.
Mhm. Okay. There's a Discord as well, right?
Yes, there's a Discord channel.
Okay. So people can also join and join the community and talk about the project. Yeah.
Yeah, they can talk about the project. They can share gameplay videos. When there's custom content, people can share their things. Can ask for how do we do this or that. I will certainly
Hmm.
post their um, how to do things. People can also sometimes, yeah, there's also a channel for finding online games because, yeah, since the game doesn't have that many players, uh, that many users right now, it's the multiplayer has these two modes. You can find someone random on the lobby, or you enter a code of a friend and you join.
Hmm.
Ideally, if there was a lot of people, they would find someone in the lobby and just match together.
Yeah.
Since there aren't, there's this channel on the Discord where people can just go there and say, I'd like to play online. Is anyone up for it? And yeah, people have been matching through that
Hmm.
mostly. Um, and
Yeah.
sometimes even because this is something I didn't know that um, Discord has. You can so there's like the channel where you can speak and I don't remember
Hmm.
now the name, but people can also share the screen there. And sometimes there are
Yeah.
some people that go there and share their screen with the game, so they are kind of streaming there and
Streaming. Yeah. Hmm.
playing and talking about the game. It's real fun.
Excellent. That's nice. Very good. So all links will be obviously also in the show notes. So for people, curious about this, and I will say people should definitely check it out. I approve. Even
So
on the
cool.
Steam Deck, it works properly. So very good. Very good job here. So people should definitely check it out. Gee, thank you very much for coming on the show, for taking the time to talk about this passion project of yours. Hopefully
Thank you for.
you get the final result that you really want, and hopefully we can chat again sometime soon whenever you add new stuff that you're working on. You're more than welcome on the show again.
Cool,
Thank
that's
you.
great. Thank you for the opportunity. It's been a pleasure. You are. It's very nice to talk with you. It's nice and easy. It's very relaxed. Very nice.
Thank you. Obrigado. Actually, yeah. So that was my chat with gsaurus. I hope you enjoyed it and consider checking out Streets of Rage 2 New Era. Since the time of this recording, a new version of New Era came out, version 2.4.0, which added a slew of options and fixed a bunch of things. Give it a try and let G know I sent you. Pro tip for Steam Deck users, it works great on the handheld system. And with that, it's time to close our doors for the week. Give the tables and chairs a good scrub, and get things ready for our next guest. Our next guest will be a true games industry legend, and I can't wait for you to listen to our chat. Until then, remember to follow the Sega Lounge on social media, and consider subscribing to our email newsletter so you don't miss any news. You can do it by going to thesegalounge.com/newsletter. I hope you have a great week, take care, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye. The Sega Lounge, hosted by me, KC, and part of Radio Sega's network of live shows and podcasts. Theme song and incidental music by OSC. Find them at opussciencecollective.bandcamp.com. Got any suggestions? Drop me an email to podcast@thesegalounge.com. Find us at The Sega Lounge on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. You can find previous episodes of the show by going to thesegalounge.com and wherever fine podcasts are downloaded. A Mixed On Productions podcast.